they were expecting to move forward with. The defense attorney, Ryan Campbell, I believe is his name, we heard him say he expected the judge to go along with that plea agreement, but we kind of had an idea that that may not happen. We heard the prosecutor, after Brendan Banfield was convicted, say she deserves the 10 years, and then we heard a lot coming out of Judge Penny Ascarati's mouth. What is your reaction to hearing that 10-year sentence being handed down?
I think a couple of observations. Certainly, this sentencing coming right on the heels of that aggravated murder trial was a tough one for the defense. Just in no particular order, it seems like Judge Ascarati had her reasons kind of already written down, and I think she had reflected on the case. She sat through the entire trial. She looked at the pre-sentence report. She looked at the memorandum submitted by the defense in this case, and I think she had a rationale. I think she made, 9 or 10 points, which she said were not included in the sentencing guidelines, which would be part of the pre-sentence report. So I think having presided over the entire trial, looking at all the documents, I think she came in with an idea of what she was going to do, and I don't think anything that she heard took her away from that idea. I would just parenthetically say that I think Mr. Campbell did a good job in terms of urging the judge to follow the recommendation. It was just a recommendation. It wasn't an agreement. He made a point about that. He did as good a job as you could ever expect to say, listen, Judge, and in fact, he said the jury foreperson said that her testimony was absolutely critical to the conviction. And as we've talked about before, these types of agreements are important because if the parties don't have faith that the judge will follow the recommendation, that is sometimes can be an issue. But obviously this case is an outlier. It's violent, it was terrible, and Ms. Magalhaes was involved. I think the judge commented far more than even what she testified to at trial. So I'm not shocked by the sentence. I think the judge was well prepared and gave the rationale for the sentence. The Commonwealth did just say a one-liner in terms of their recommendation, and I think Mr. Campbell indicated that although he didn't expect the Commonwealth to pound her fist on the table, the one-line recommendation may not have been kind of reflective of what he was expecting. So all in all, I don't think it's a surprise given just the kind of the brutality of all the facts.
All right, let's talk about some of the questions we're getting. A lot of them are about this sentence that was just handed down. So again, if you are just tuning in now, we just watched Judge Penny Ascarati sentence Juliana Peres Magalhaes to 10 years. But let's talk about that 10-year sentence. I heard her talking about some of the time served, not necessarily time served, but a probation period. How much time, Frank, will she serve in prison for this manslaughter charge?
I think she's been incarcerated for how long, 2 or 3 years now?
Since 2023.
Yeah, so it's 2.5 years or so. You generally do 85% of your time. What she said about probation afterwards and whatnot, I think everybody can kind of disregard that because she's going to be immediately deported. So even though she gets additional suspended time or probation afterwards, that's really just a fallacy. It isn't really going to exist in this case. So she typically would be looking at 8.5 years on a 10-year sentence, and then that 8.5 years will be reduced by whatever time she's already served. So if that's, say, 2.5 years, then she's looking at 6 years still to serve before she gets deported.
You know, we saw her take the stand. We also saw victim impact statements from Deirdre Fisher, Joseph Ryan's mother, as well as Joseph Ryan's aunt. Both of those victim impact statements were incredibly emotional. We had an idea of what Deirdre Fisher was going to say. And, you know, this has been so hard on her. She had to give that statement virtually. She's down in Florida with some health issues. She wasn't able to travel. Do you think those two victim impact statements had an impact on Judge Ascarati?
I think they may have had some impact. First, on a very human level, the victim impact statement by his mom was, and I know you've talked to the mom a lot and have done an excellent job in getting her involved and being able to talk about her son, but that was emotional and terrible, and some of the things that she said about lighting up the Christmas tree and those little vignettes that she told about him, were really powerful. Whether that would have moved Judge Ascarate from 8 years to 10 years, nobody will ever know except her. It seemed like she kind of had an idea that because of the brutality of the case that this deserved 10 years. The judge also said that the benefit of your deal or your cooperation really came in the reduction of the charge. I thought that was an interesting point where she said kind of like, you've already gotten credit for your cooperation because you're not getting a life sentence.
Right.
You're only getting perhaps a 10-year sentence. So you've already received a huge benefit of your cooperation already. She wasn't willing to take that next leap and follow the joint recommendation.
And again, for people who are just tuning in, thank you so much for joining us on WUSA 9 Plus. We just saw the sentencing of Juliana Peres Magalhaes. She was sentenced to 10 years. Again, I know you just answered this question, but how much time will she actually serve, for those of you asking that question again?
Yeah, I think she'll serve about, from my calculations, about 6 additional years from the time she's already served. So a total of about 8.5-ish, maybe 9 years on a 10-year sentence. She will get some good time credit as long as she maintains appropriate behavior in jail. It looks like Mr. Campbell handed up some certificates, so I guess she's been doing a decent job in terms of her jail behavior.
Yeah. She said she found God. I thought that was interesting. In jail.
Yes, and sometimes folks legitimately find God, and that's a driving force. She's got a long life ahead of her, and hopefully there's no way she can ever repay anybody for her actions, but hopefully, and in fact this probably goes for everybody, hopefully she can find some kindness and some decency and move forward in her life in a positive way. She's going to be unsupervised in Brazil. Who knows where she'll be mentally after these 6 years or so, but hopefully her finding God and her reflection on perhaps some religious basis will allow her to actually be kind and decent, because she has a long life to live.